Believe it or not, I still need like another 4 or 5 seconds to do everything I do before the show starts. So I'm going to add 4 more seconds to it.
How long is that?
45 seconds, and I have
That's
to go.
45 seconds long?
Yeah, it feels like it's longer, but
It feels like it's like 20 seconds long.
I'm like, okay, gotta click that one and take that off private, put it on public, go back over here, make sure I mute YouTube. I need a producer. Hey, everybody, this is the Wednesday Night Live show. We are back for another week. Allie's back with us. The other two are lost. They will come on eventually. They will find their way. Maybe we need to leave Phillip like breadcrumbs or maybe cookies or M&Ms, a trail to the link. And yeah, maybe we'll work on that one. But yeah, we got some great articles that we're going to talk about. We're going to actually talk about legit disposables. Allie wrote an article. We're going to talk about that article and another article that I think was from Jim, correct, Allie? Jim's article.
Yep.
And it came up, reason that came up was a conversation me and Allie had a couple days ago in the chat where I was getting my oil change and I had my boxes of e-liquid in the back seat of my car, and the guy looked in there. He goes, "You can still get e-liquid?" And I'm like, "Huh?" I looked at him like, "Really?" And just how misinformed a lot of people are, and that they can still order email. They can still order e-liquid, juice, or whatever you want to call it, whatever flavor you want online. And it's sad to think that most people didn't understand that they were still capable of doing that. And so that kind of, it was kind of weird for him to say that to me. Like he kind of went back to smoking. He said, he's like, he'll find the disposable every now and then that he buys. And then most of the times he ends up buying cigarettes. And I'm like, dude, you can order flavors and have them brought into California. You just can't find them in the shops. So that made me wonder how many people are really out there that didn't really pay attention to the law and understand it right. So, and then
I think the vape shops are scared because
I think
they don't want to advertise that quote unquote loophole, because then they're probably afraid that avenue will also be.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. I mean, it just, to me, and what the reason that came up is because what he had was a not legit elf bar. And he's been getting them. He didn't want to say, and I don't want to say. He's been getting them a couple of places, but he noticed that the ones he was getting prior were lasting much longer, and these were lasting him maybe a day, 2 days, and then that was it. So he didn't even know how to scan the barcode to check it. So we're going to talk about that tonight. That's one of our subjects. Also tonight we are going to be doing. I got to look at my articles here. Mental health awareness. Well, that's a great article. Allie posted the link to that one. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And as I was reading that, Allie, I was kind of shocked at some of the numbers. I kind of figured that more people with mental illness were probably more heavier smokers than normal people. But when I started going through the numbers, I was like, wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about the custom border patrol. I don't know. We're going to get into that. I mean, we don't have money for anything, but yet we're going to somehow have money for the border patrol to stop all these bullshit things coming through. But we'll see how that works.
Well, no, they're only stopping the legitimate things from coming through. So all the bullshit things are more than welcome to make their way.
Yeah, that gets in. Yeah,
because it's only the registered businesses that they have on the red list. So, everybody else that's making the ones that are bootleg, they won't have that issue to deal with.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that and then whatever else comes up. But before we start that, let's say hello to the guy in the middle there. Hold on. Where is this thing at? I keep forgetting I got a new toy for Tim. Here it is.
Kipper!
There he is.
Kipper! Kipper!
Looks like you got a few new toys.
Actually, it probably would resonate more if everyone would just start doing that now when they saw me.
Okay, you guys ready? 1, 2, 3. Timmy!
Timber!
I'll have to get my friends to start doing that too. I think sometimes they do, and I dismiss it, but I need to embrace it. I need to embrace the hello. Timmy! I need to embrace it. Hey, so how's my week been going? A couple short stories. So I had my annual performance review yesterday, and it went rather well. I got a nice sizable raise, so I can't complain. I guess my hard work is paying off in some way, shape, or form. So I'll take that and quickly figure out a way to pay down my debt a lot quicker than I was before. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Remember to have a little bit of fun, though, Tim. Have a little bit of fun.
You want to know what my theory on life is in terms of how a reward is earned or how you pay for things. Yeah. You always pay yourself before you pay everyone else. That's exactly the way I think about it, right? You pay yourself before you pay everybody else.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. So if you earn something, it's well deserved, and you should certainly celebrate that win, however it comes, right?
Yeah.
All right, and then story number 2, I am about up to here with the kids at the pool and the freaking squirt guns. Look, I like a good squirt gun war. I'll go gun to gun, squirt to squirt with anybody, if they want to, and if you've seen some of the squirt guns nowadays, it's not your classic little cheap shit.
You don't stand a chance, Tim.
20-cent, squirt gun that you had to dunk in the sink, and watch the bubbles come out, and then you were good for like a minute and a half, and then you were back in the sink. No, they got like fully automatic weapons out there now. Like the kids can take you out from the other side of the pool, and it's quickly becoming video game in real life, But the best part is nobody gets hurt, except my feelings. My feelings. Right? So. I've taken it upon my shoulder to ensure that the pool runs smoothly. Everyone is clearly informed of anything that they need to know. And so and while it might be crude in format, I have attached many signs down at the swimming pool, the cabana.
Oh my God!
on printer paper. Just regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper, and adhesives are magic, and painter's fucking tape. Okay, so the shit's stuck to the wall with a lot of little blue squares, holding it on, and they're all positioned in the strategic places. So for the last 2 days, I've been going down to the pool, and I get into the pool, and there's one specific one that's kind of near the gate that tells people, hey, look. If you're going to prop the security gate open with a chair because, your little kids need to use the bathroom or whatever, we understand that. But all I want is just the same energy to take the chair away and let the gate close when you leave, right? Simple ask. I'm not some pool Gestapo or anything like that. Okay? This is just what's fair is fair. Be kind to everyone, right? Respect.
Tim's the most hated. Tim's the most hated man by the pool
I've ever heard.
Safe swimming.
So I get down to the pool on Tuesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. I get down to the pool on Monday night, and I come around the corner, and the one sign on the inside of the gate is just like wet, and all the ink's running, and I'm like. Who the hell got my sign wet? It's like way the heck up on the wall. So I just was like, oh, it's a pool. People are wet. They're going to get things wet. They touched the sign, thought it was cute, whatever, got it wet. All right, fine. Go down there yesterday, brand new sign, brand new run of painter's tape, okay? I get down there last night to clean up the pool. Fucking thing is soaking wet again. I'm like, someone's out to get me at the pool. They hate my signs. They're trying to go, screw that HOA guy, whatever. So I'm like, but you know what? I'm going to the cameras on this one. I'm going to find out. There's like a 5-year-old down there with a squirt gun, and 2 days in a row, he's fucking entered the cabana area with strafing runs on his squirt gun, and then he aims it at the sign and he just shoots the sign while mom's like way over there, right?
Yeah.
So today I went to battle with the classic clear plastic notebook insert things that you put on a 3-ring binder, and you can slide the paper in there. It has like a
This
plastic.
is costing you money now, Tim.
I was gonna say, I thought he was gonna buy a laminator.
You can't
So
put a price on
I am
proper
determined
revenge.
I'm determined to defeat this kid and his stinking water gun, and my signs will live in infamy.
Catch
Thank
him
you very
on
much.
film, and we will tear him to pieces right here in front of God. And
I would
everyone.
just show up with my own water gun.
Kidding.
Tim's battle with the 5-year-old. Allie, can you top that day?
Well, so I went to a concert over the weekend.
Yeah.
My favorite artist, Dermot Kennedy. I got to see the private show and do a meet and greet and take a picture with him and all that stuff. And it was really great. So I was really thankful that I was feeling better and I was able to go, because I probably would have gone even if I wasn't.
Isn't it just awesome concerts are back? They're back.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Yeah.
And then spent all day at the pool Sunday, where my mom called a meme a Mimi. So, I have that going for me now.
My mom did the same thing recently.
Yeah, I'm just happy. I was telling Tim, I'm just happy concerts are back. But unfortunately, the first concert available to me is Genuine, and I had to Google who the hell Genuine was.
I don't know who Genuine is. Come on now.
I don't know who Genuine.
I don't know who Genuine is.
There, see? Yeah.
Pony?
I was told if I go to that concert, I need to bring a date. So that tells me it's it's R&B and it's that music.
Making love music.
Making babies.
You better
music.
better not ever catch you going to an Air Supply show without a date, John.
Yeah, Air Supply, 38 Special,
Ario Speedwagon too.
Aero Speedwagon, Journey, yeah. Phillip,
Air Supply is still touring. Do they
Who?
still play Air Supply? Do they play?
Yeah,
concerts?
they're alive and well 40-something years later, and all the bands that they just named are all still touring. and
Yeah,
all touring.
Ario Speedwagon. was
Oh,
just-
REO Speedwagon is still
38
going?
Special,
yeah, they
REO
were just in
Speedwagon.
Charleston.
They're like 150
Take their
years
own
old.
time.
but they're still
hey,
touring.
Blue Oyster Cult Band is going to be here in Turlock this summer, so I got to see them too. I mean, this guy's got to be in their mid 60s, if not more. I got to
I'm
figure.
supposed to be going to Queens to see Dead and Company again.
There you go.
As a
Phillip,
matter of-
how's your week going, buddy?
It is going extraordinarily well, splendidly, swimmingly. Sorry, Tim.
Good. You
Very
guys,
well.
you guys, both you and Allie, I think you and Tim are like in a heat wave, right? You guys got all the heat. It's like 65 here today. I'm seeing 80, 90. I'm like,
on my
We
way
had
home.
91 today, and
Yeah.
that's fine May weather for the heart of Dixie.
yeah,
Excuse me, fine beginning of June weather.
yeah. You were out
And-
barbecuing. I saw your steaks. I was gonna write on there. I always do that. Anytime I see someone post a steak, I always write, "You need to turn that now. Turn it now."
No. So that was the searing phase. That's like full heat, like a minute and a half per side, so you get that sear, and then you go.
Yeah.
But of course, one always wants theirs medium well, and it pains my soul to do it. It always does. It does.
Yeah.
But
Like mine's still kind of talking.
yeah. If it's a quality piece of meat, absolutely, we can talk to it.
Yeah.
But it's going great. Thanks for waiting up for me, guys. Jeff,
Good.
glad to have you. Al, we're so happy that you feel better.
Yeah, we are. And Jeffrey's joining us tonight. Jeffrey, how's your week going?
It's going great. I got back from Mexico on Sunday. Since then, it has been a lot of work. I was preparing today a presentation that I have to give out to the Chamber of Commerce tomorrow, representing the consumer organization here. I was expecting a call from a reporter that he was supposed to call me like an hour and a half ago, and he haven't called yet. So,
that's the record. I've been trying, like I said, I've been trying for years to get one on this show. Just come on, we're nice, we're good people, we're nice people. We'll treat you nice. We're not
No,
mean.
he approached me, for an interview because they're doing some sort of article about nicotine vaping and stuff, right? So they asked me to give the opinion of the consumer organization that I'm a president of. So yeah, but I don't know. He haven't called yet. Most probably he's gonna be calling sometime during the afternoon. And it's pretty
Fingers-
cold here. Yeah, pretty crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Pretty cold here. We're about 66 Fahrenheit. So I don't know if that is cold for you guys. But
What was
Yeah.
the temperature?
Timmy will know.
What was the temperature?
66.
Oh, yeah, well, that's like morning weather here. It's like now it's like 60, 65, 66 when I get up, and then right now it's 85.
Yeah.
66 isn't bad. It's the only thing that sucks is that the air is just dead. It's so muggy and you just walk outside and you're like,
Oh, he just got back from
Eventually we'll
Mexico.
hit,
He
like-
shouldn't be complaining. My cousins were just at Mexico for a wedding. I'm looking at their pictures and I'm like, oh, you people, I hate you.
Yeah, but there's a lot to be said for that coastal breeze. That's huge. Here we just have nothing but concrete walls, sort of in the middle. South Carolina may be a little bit different, but in Birmingham we definitely have that city heat center in Birmingham where I really do
it's
kind
humid
of
here like year round. I feel we get maybe 1 month where it's not humid and disgusting.
Yeah.
we are
Oh, yeah,
constantly
great.
showering here, which makes it even worse.
Here it's raining like crazy.
I'll take the rain when it's 90. I like that. When it's 90 degrees and it's raining.
I'll take the rain when I'm indoors.
I'll take it when I'm indoors. Timmy, you know what's up.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wednesday Night Live show. Sorry if I just blew out your ears. I think I just watched the needle peg. So, you know, I used to be made fun of when I was a little kid because everybody said I was loud. That part of me has not changed 1 ounce. So let's say hi to some people in the chat. Pam Spraggins, always wonderful to see you. First out of the gate, Pam Spraggins. Yeah. Oh wait, hold. My mouse was over top of people's names. It was great. It was washing them out. Mallory Gates, great to see you. Mallory Gates, how are you? Hold on, I got to get to. Oh, it's like the Lady Brigade in the front. It's like Pam, Mallory, Allie. Okay, and then here come the slacker guys. They started to show up.
Dudes.
Addie Tooney coming in strong right after that. Steve's Vapes, great to see you, sir. Here's Jeffrey. Jeffrey Zamora's in the chat, everybody. If you want to talk to Jeffrey, just give him a message. He'll respond. He's out there on YouTube somewhere. Who else we got? We got I think that's about it right now. It's a lot of recruiters. A lot of back and forth. James R in the house.
The R, get those R's in there.
Love that. And Redden, good to see you. I did notice that Redden was in the chat. I think John shared one of his comments or something while I was giving my pool story. And stuff like that. Yeah, that really exciting pool story. My angst for young children and squirt guns. Tom Morowitz, good to see you, buddy. How are you? Janine Timmons, lovely to see you. Steve Todnam, he said spray painted on the wall. I'm like, graffiti. That's how you handle that stuff, right? Graffiti, like the Mandalorian said, this is the way.
This is
graffiti. This is the way. And that's it for right now on the visual chat side, but we've got other big brains on bread sitting there watching the show, so chime on in.
Yeah, chime on in. Allie, we can start with your story tonight. We're going to start with yours.
Diving into the disposables. Okay.
I think you should kind of talk about your process at your shop and what you talked about, how you want your customers to go through when they purchase a disposable from you guys.
Absolutely. Well, Kyle Redden, he's in the chat. He actually works for ASIC Charleston, so he can back me up on this one. But at our stores, we actually show the consumer and ask them to scan the box so they can see that it's a legitimate item. And we also ask them to take it out of the box and to try it to make sure that it's working. I think that's important too, because some customers will buy one and vape the shit out of it and come back a few days later and say, oh, it doesn't work and I didn't get to come back, and then we got to give them another one. So that kind of eliminates that problem. They puff on it a few times and we can see that it's working properly. So I think it's really important, especially with the import ban, and it's going to be a lot harder for us to get legitimate products now. So it's going to be flooded with disposables that are not legitimate, and that's because of what the FDA is doing. The FDA is doing a great job at making sure that black market is thriving. I think it's really important, if you own a shop, if you go to a shop, if you purchase a disposable, scan it before you leave the store, make sure that it's legitimate. You don't want to be vaping something that, while still probably might be safer than smoking, isn't, regulated, and you have no idea what the ingredients are. we had this issue a while back, which is when I think I wrote the article almost a year ago now. And it was a consumer came into the store, actually used a picture from our actual group chat that we used to communicate with our staff. And it was, you could tell if I didn't know what to look for, I wouldn't have known. But the font was a little bit different. The colors were off on a few of them. And in one situation, the employee tried it, which I don't recommend trying somebody else's vape, but they tried it and they said it tasted really bad and chemically. So, you just really want to be careful. See, so on the left, you have a legitimate product. On the right, you have a fake product. Now, some of them look even better than that, but I mean, I wouldn't be able to notice that. Now, if
I couldn't, you know which one's the real one, right? You know which one. You want to take a guess, Jeffrey?
The left one is the legitimate one, right?
I can't. I'm leaning opposite.
The one with the black letters. No, I believe no. I think the white logo of L-Bar is the right one, right?
I'm gonna sit this one out because we've talked at length about this.
Which one's the real one, Phillip?
Yeah, the authentic product is the left image.
That's right.
Yes.
Jeez.
So yeah.
And if you think about it, the flavor dictating the color of the Elf Bar to an extent, that should be your first thing to stick out at you.
The pink and green one is the color of the strawberry kiwi.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not even the right color, but you wouldn't know that. And I even, when I put this article out, I even had people reach out to me. I mean, you can even tell with the warning, it's not big enough on the right one. So, when I even had somebody reach out to me that's an advocate, they're like, I think I've vaped a lot of fake Elf Bars. And so that's an issue. But if you do scan the QR code, it will take you either to Elf Bar's website to like a 505 or 404 error where it's not found, or it'll just take you to Google, or it'll just take you to a blank page. So, and I've seen those three different things. I haven't seen any other instances. If anybody else has, I'd love to hear them because I think everyone should know. If you scan a legitimate product, it will take you to the Elf Bar website and say that this product is verified as authentic.
I have a question then, Ali. So I mean, obviously they make them look as close to the packaging requirements as possible. So hard to tell there. And I was going to ask about the QR code. What are the penalties to these companies? Should they even mimic the QR code? Like, what if it's a fake and it takes you to Elf Bar's site? Will Elf Bar's site tell you it's not legit?
Elf Bar has actually, it'll bring you to a server error or a page not found. So that's your cue that's not legitimate because it's just a QR code that goes to nowhere.
Right.
But if you report it to Elf Bar has been really diligent about going after these companies and trying to get these products off of the market. So I would just report it to Elf Bar.
Yeah, and it should be difficult to kind of trace back where it came from, right? Because
well, you can trace it back to the store that purchased it, and they know the distributor that they got it from or where they purchased it. I mean, they've definitely caught some people that have been having these in distribution centers. It's happened to us before. We purchased from legitimate people, and we found a distro in another state because we were having a hard time finding Elf Bars. And when we got them, we got samples. We buy samples before we buy anything, and then we tested them ourselves, and they were all illegitimate.
I mean,
was your distro aware?
No, this was a new distro. So our distro didn't have Elf Bars when they were going through the name change.
Okay.
We were trying to go to another distro, find somebody that had them. And we always only buy samples when we begin, the process of that to make sure that they're legitimate, and they were not.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you have an opinion as to whether or not the district that sent you the samples had a clue as to whether that they were?
They said that they did not.
I mean, if you're buying these off the street too, guys, I mean, you're not scanning. Don't even scan. Right. Don't even bother.
It seemed like a really bad idea to try and send you counterfeits. And
right, definitely. If you're a distro, you should do your due diligence and check those products and make sure that you're getting legitimate products. Yeah.
How would you? I got a question for all of you, but how would all of you react if you were in the vape shop, you bought it, you followed that procedure, you scanned it, and it was not legit, how do you go? How would you guys go
happened to
about
me.
that? Did you ask for your money back? I mean,
I
how
walked
did you
up to
go?
him with a line of people waiting and said, "This is not a legitimate product." And oh no, it's legitimate. And I said, "No, it's not." I'm showing him my phone and telling him like this is not legitimate. And he refused to give me a refund. And I said, "That's okay." I said, "I'll just report you. That's fine."
Are we talking convenience store? Or are we talking?
Yeah,
No, it was a vape tobacco shop. The ones with all the
Yeah.
fancy lights and stuff.
Super shop.
Yeah, I was going to say the one thing other than counterfeits and you have lookalikes, there are plenty of those. And then what I've discovered while I was in San Diego, I might have told you the story, is I went in to buy a Flume Pebble in a flavor that I'd never heard of before, icy peach. I bought it. It tasted very weak. The flavor was really strange, almost non-existent. It was basically like a bunch of very subtle menthol, but very little in the way of peach. So when I got back to our hotel, of course I scanned it, and it had been scanned twice. So from what I am led to believe, that is there's a market.
Boxes.
Yeah, there's a market, much like you have rewrapped Samsungs that are maybe B stock. Maybe this is something along those lines.
Yeah.
People are buying the ones that didn't quite meet quality control. Let me tell you something. This did not meet quality control. It was really bad, but not counterfeit, simply secondhand.
Right. Yeah, it's not good. And that's what I'm worried about, is that it's going to become even more of an issue, which is why I think it's so important to talk about it now, because I think that, with the FDA, putting these, companies on this red list, where they can have all of their stuff seized, if that only opens up the door for more illegitimate products to come from places that are not on that list. And it makes it very hard to get a good product, and makes it very easy to get a bad product. And honestly, if shops, retailers, and consumers and distros are not doing their due diligence, they're going to end up with some fake products here.
Yeah, I don't know how I would react. How about you, Tim? How would you react? You ask for your money back?
I mean, I think that would be the first order of events. I mean, if I was walking into what I thought was a reputable place and I was getting something that was a counterfeit knockoff, I would be worried about my own consumption walking out the door. I'm not going to just be like, okay, that was $18 to $20, and now I'm going to vape something that could potentially cause some more harm than it's worth. So I would maybe try that route, but I think I would take Allie's position and just say, if the guy didn't want to give me a refund, I would say, well, then fine, I'll just report you.
Yeah. I was hoping he'd say, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that. How did you know that?" Like, then I would have been like, okay, it's not this guy's fault, maybe,
I mean, think about it this way. It's not every day you get to learn something that's incredibly valuable. And most of all, the fact that, well, he wasn't even willing to listen. Let's just say the report is the least that he should have to suffer. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance, like Ali said, there's a good chance they don't really know they just bought something.
Right. And I don't think about myself. I scan my stuff, and I just, I reported it, I tossed it. But, I worry about, other consumers that shop there every week, every few days to buy these. What are they putting into their bodies? And if somebody gets sick from a nicotine disposable, if it was from the illicit market, no one's ever going to clarify that. They still haven't clarified Evali. So they're not going to clarify that it was an illegitimate product. They're just going to blame it on nicotine vape. Exactly.
I've never been so happy to find out that a really lousy product turned out to be secondhand or B stock, whatever, as opposed to, a true counterfeit.
Yeah.
But for you, Paul, and for Jeffrey, I mean, that's all you guys got. To be honest, I mean, there's probably not very legitimate elf bars or any other legitimate disposables floating in to Australia or to where was I forgot the.
No, in Costa Rica we have regulations since 2012.
Yeah, so everything that you got is.
Oh, and in contrary, we got the products regulated back in 2012. Is as a tobacco product. Now on this, remember that I told you that I was going to go to the Chamber of Commerce That is actually to support a bill that says that these products are a harm reduction alternative. So we're trying to fix things up, since it was regulated as a tobacco product, but we do have a regulated market. So there's formal vape shops with all the permissions to commercialize, and they can ask for loans and stuff to amplify their stores and to get it larger. But we do have a bunch of illegal products coming into the country. As any Latin American country, we have a hard time with our borders. So that's for sure. So a percentage of the products that are sold here are illicit or unregulated, or they come from not legitimate source or under the table when it comes to customs. But yeah.
How about you, Paul?
We predominantly see the iGets, the gun pods, and the majority of them are coming from legitimate sources. But now we're starting to see the knockoff iGets that are appearing, but not in small amounts either. And you know the difference. They're wholesaling iGets here for around $10 a piece, and the knockoffs they're wholesaling for about $7. There's that $3 difference. But the other thing that we're also seeing now is knockoff liquids that are coming in from Asian countries. Yeah, and that's the really scary part. And we asked a question the other day. The liquids that they did test, did they ask whether or not there was a QR code or anything on the bottles? They hid everything from us in the testing, but they also tested it at levels that you shouldn't be testing a liquid at in any case. So liquid is probably a bigger concern here. People buying online and shipping their liquids in because they don't want to pay the freight from the United States or from New Zealand. So they're finding it somewhere, anywhere. And you can tell on the label straight away the difference. Especially, like I saw fake dinner lady the other day. That was a good
dinner misspelled.
No, it was no, it was actual inverted. The colors were inverted as what the original. So it was reversed colors, and I knew it straight away. I went, no, you're not real. No. You're not real.
Well, I mean, I guess you have to live in a bigger city because, like, I've never had someone. I mean, I've had people try to sell me CDs out of their trunk of their car and other stuff, speaker, but I've really never had someone walk up to me and see me vaping and then try to sell me a vape device. I mean, have you, Tim? And you don't live in a big city either.
Ask the question again.
Have you had someone approach you while you were vaping and try to sell you a disposable or anything? No.
I've never had anybody proposition me with a sale of any kind of vape. I mean, most of the time it's just us losers out front, talking about what are you vaping? What are you vaping? Oh, cool. Oh, you got
losers.
you got that TFV 22.5. That's
I have nothing to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the usual conversation, but most of the time we're just usually asking what flavor you're vaping because we still want to find a flavor that we really love. So we dig and try to, but I will admit that, it's not unusual for me to see a lot of people stand around with disposables in general, just because that's convenient and easy. And keep in mind, Georgia has been largely unscathed by any of the vaping regulations down here. So, there's nothing that stands in our way generally other than age that, prevents people from getting what they want. So I don't presume there probably are counterfeits here. A, I don't buy disposables, so I wouldn't know, frankly. Yeah. And B, it's convenience. I mean, people can get them wherever they want to, outside of a few gas station exceptions. So.
Convenience. Yeah. If it hadn't been for Allie's write up for Old Vapor, I probably would never have gone into the disposable. Well, I had to write something about disposables, but just the same, your write up on counterfeit disposables was what compelled me to buy a few and check on my local stores, see what they had and see what they were like. And here's some really good news. One of my local stores has started offering free recycling. I mentioned they could
nice.
put it. Yeah, free recycling. They take however many they get per week and bring them to either Batteries Plus or Target. They both offer recycling, and they have a bin, and you throw what you have in, and they don't particularly mind what it is, whether they be flashlights or these. So I think that's really it's very to me that's encouraging.
I think that should take off. People should do that. But I'm curious, Allie, what was the vapor atmosphere at the concert?
Well, let me tell you. First of all, I was going to the designated area.
Good girl.
And I know, right? I'm being good. So I had this really nice girl next to me, and she was kind of young, and she was actually by herself there, and she was super innocent. And I was like, I feel like if I vape in front of her, her head might explode. I don't know. So I kept leaving, going to get a drink, and then vaping at the same time. And I swear I counted 23 people in that area had elf bars. Wow. 23. And then when I got back to the concert, everybody was vaping once it started. So I was vaping there, but everybody was vaping, just blowing clouds up in the air in North Carolina, and nobody said anything. And there it's looked at a little bit differently than it is in South Carolina. So I was like, okay, I guess we can vape. I just didn't feel like being hassled because I was right on the end of the aisle, right next to the security guy, but so was the guy in front of me. I was like, okay.
Sure beats finding yourself in a mosh pit full of cigarette smokers. Trust me, because that hurts.
I do the same thing. The last concert I was to, I kind of looked around and see who was around me and try to think in my head, okay, are any of these people going to get upset? And usually I'll wait another 5-10 minutes and then someone will burn something. We know what we're talking about. So I figure if they're burning that, I can vape. So I always vape. So, I wait, take my time to look around. But did anybody offer to sell you any vape?
No one's ever offered to sell me vapes. I think it's true. The fact that we have, we kind of have some freedom here, in South Carolina, much like Georgia, where there's really no target. There is, but, it's not something that can't be defeated, which we just did. But I just think that it's easier to open up an illegitimate shop. And I've been seeing that pop up everywhere. They've got these big flashing lights all lined around the windows, and it just says tobacco, Delta, Kratom, vape. And I'm like, I mean, it's not a convenience store. It's a head shop, really.
Yeah.
But they're exactly the same, and they're everywhere, and they're all next to all of our stores. So, I think they're trying to be our competition, but I don't know.
I see a lot of that here too.
Yeah, and they're all owned by the same. They all look identical. It's the exact same layout.
Yeah, I'm just wondering with, summer here and, the flea market starting to boom again, that we're going to start seeing possibility of seeing them at the flea market. I'm just going to laugh.
I saw our e-liquid at the flea market. I told my boss, I was like, this was years ago when I was working in the store. I was like, I saw our e-liquid, and he was like, no fucking way. So he went with me to the flea market the next weekend, and there's this guy's got a little tourney, a makeup case display with all of our e-liquid in it. And he's like, I go to your store and I load up and then I sell it. And he's like, well, I can't be mad at that as long as it's legitimate. It's fine.
Oh, wait a minute. He was buying from you guys and then going back to the
buying it from the store and then selling it with all his other.
Oh, he's an entrepreneur.
Things that he
entrepreneur.
It's kind of a stale ass entrepreneurial move, isn't it? Sorry.
But he was charging $5 more for a 30 mil, and I'm like, we're right around the corner, right?
Yeah. God. Oh, he was
not even making it worthwhile. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well done.
You can't shit on. Paul, are they in the back of the trunk of cars there? Do people just roll up and say, you want to buy some?
No, but we're now starting to see a lot of counterfeit hardware that's coming out.
Ooh, hardware now.
Yeah, we've started seeing that already, and a lot of knockoff hardware that looks like a specific product, but it's not. You can tell by the packaging, the fonts on the packaging, and there's no web address. That's quite interesting, and that's being sold at a lot of the tobacconists. And when you go back and ask them for a box of coils for said device, coils? What are coils? They look at you like you're an idiot. And I walked into a tobacconist the other day. I needed a blade for something because they sell blades for certain things in some of our tobacconists. And the guy looked at me when I had this and he said, "Oh, what the hell's that?" And I said, "You can't afford this." And he just looked at me as if, "Oh, well, that's a $50 device." I went, "I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's an SX Mini and a tripod. That's not a $50 device at all."
Well, that's scary because you don't know. You don't know if they're using the right kind of chip. If that thing, I mean, they don't have what is the CE code or something like that. I forget what it is that that shows that they inspected it, that it won't catch on fire or whatnot.
But the funny part is, like, I asked them, "Oh, what batteries do you sell?" And I thought, this is going to be an absolutely brilliant one. This is going to be a brilliant one. And I'm looking and I'm going, "That's not a real battery. That's not a real battery. What the hell's that?" I thought, and then the guy next to me, he's come back with a vape device that he bought the day before, and it shorted out, but not badly. Obviously, he was smart enough to take the batteries out, and he's trying to get a refund. And he said, "Oh no, it's secondhand now. We can't give a refund." I went,
Paul, when you're saying not a real battery, talking about something that's just wrapped, that's not made
it's a rewrap. You can tell out of the box whether or not it's real or not, because there's a certain code written down the side. Like, I use Molly cells in everything now. Molly cells or Sony's, and
I think they're the same thing.
And it's different. I can tell which battery is which, and these guys are trying to tell me, "Oh no, that's a real Samsung," and I went, "That's not a real Samsung." You can tell by the top of it.
Yeah, I remember like 10 years, was it like 10 years ago? Remember on the Zample Box page, just people posting these homemade mods. And I was like looking at these things thinking to myself, nope.
I had a customer, I'm going to see if I can find the picture. I had a customer that came in with, it was he built this thing. It was like a plastic thing that closed like this, and it had 20 batteries in it. And he held it like this to take like the most giant vape I've ever seen in my entire life. He filled up the entire store with. I have to find a picture of this thing. I was like, "That
was
is
it a Dwight case?
Of a douche flute." I was like, "That is a douche.
A douche canoe? What? A douche flute?
Douche flute. Was it a Dwight case? One of those Dwight?
No, he made it. Like, he actually.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Douche flute.
Yeah, I saw one where it was just a wire. And it was just a silver copper wire setting, and it was wrapped around a battery. And then he drilled a hole in the top and he put the RDA in there, and he would just touch the bottom of it to vape. And I was like, nope.
Just the one where you leave the safety off while you're on the couch while you like pause to kiss your cousin, and you come back from getting yourself a Pabst, like whatever, a Schlitz. Oh my god!
Do they get creative over there, Jeffrey?
People don't.
Have you seen some creative little mod setups?
Not to that level.
No.
Like a 20 battery thing. No, I do remember like 7 or maybe 6 years ago that there were some batteries that they were called fire something.
Yeah, that's them. That's them.
I forgot about Emblens.
I've seen them recently again. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was in a time warp.
Hey, they weren't lying. They actually put a flaming horse on the battery, so you knew what you were getting.
The Altoid tins were actually...
You're not getting a horse.
They were, you were just getting fire. But those Altoid tins were actually made by someone in the community. And they were absolutely badass if you ever got one. Her name was Michelle from memory, and she was the one making them.
Yeah. I've stuck with Samsung since day one. I've never, maybe every now and then have bought a Sony here and there. But everything I've ever bought, I always buy a 6-pack of the Samsung 25Rs. They last me 18 months, two years sometimes. And then I just recycle them. But it's just been we need to get Mooch back, but hopefully we had him on the show. But he had a horrible connection where he was at. And nobody couldn't remember Tim, couldn't talk. He kept cutting in and out. I was like, nobody got any information at all during that show. So we need to get him back. But
a guy that actually pretty much influenced the whole world, because here in Costa Rica and pretty much all over Latin America, everybody was, looking at the charts. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got kind of quiet. I mean, I haven't seen anything. He hasn't been really doing any types of interviews anymore. He still does his charts.
Yeah, he's doing a lot. He's revisiting a lot of the old cells that are still around, and retesting a lot. But now that a lot of the batteries have actually got warning labels printed on them by the manufacturers stating, well, you can't use that in a vape device, things like that. Right. That's also becoming a big thing as well. The price of like cells here in Australia has gone through the roof. Molly cell 28A, you're looking at around anywhere between $12 at the very low end.
Wow.
And around $16 to $18 at the top end. That's for an 8N650. The 21700s, you're looking anywhere between $16 at the very low end and $22 to $24 at the top end for a single cell.
Yeah, I just paid $4.99.
Well, that's $6 here. I would love that, but that's the other thing. We can't. I've got a friend in the US that can ship me like cells, but you can't ship them anymore. That's the other problem that we've got. Otherwise, they get a box of each of them and be done with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Ali, do you want to talk about the mental health awareness article? Do you want to pull? I'm going to pull it up, the link to it, so people can find it as well.
All right.
All right. Let me post that there. We can talk about that because that's that. Like I said earlier before the show started, I as I was reading that and you start to think of the people that that had mental illnesses, and then it kind of clicked, and they always had a cigarette in their hand. I very rarely put those two things together, And then when I read the numbers, I was just like, wow. And the one that kind of blew me away is. It says estimated that somewhere over 20% of the people in the U.S. live with a mental illness, but the population smokers, almost half of all the cigarettes sold around the country each year. So they're smoking almost 20% of all the cigarettes that are bought in the U.S. are people that have some sort of mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia. Where are the other ones? I don't know them all. I don't know the names of all of them.
Schizophrenia, bipolar, depression,
yeah.
schizoaffective disorder, you name it.
But they represent shocking 20%. 20% they represent of the cigarette sales in the U.S. I will pull up. I put the link, guys, in the chat. So if you guys want to pull the article as you're watching the show, as we go through it, it's a pretty interesting article. I can put it up there.
We have approximately 53% of deaths among people living with schizophrenia, 50% among people with depression, and 48% among people with bipolar disorder can be attributed to tobacco-related diseases. That's astonishing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing, like Skip says, adults self-medicating with nicotine needs safer alternatives to improve their physical health. Like this is something that's necessary for these people. And she also says in here that, some studies find that depression leads to smoking, and then some others say that smoking leads to depression. And it's like, well, regardless, adolescents that they're finding that, these that have these symptoms are more likely to start smoking than those that are not depressed. Well, okay, but why can't we just give them a safer alternative if it's just the nicotine that they're after? And I get it. Some people don't want to quit smoking. Some people like smoking. I liked smoking. But if you keep scaring people away from even trying, they'll use that as a crutch to not try. I know I would. I'd be like, I'm not going to even try to use those. They're just as bad if I didn't know, so.
I mean, it's safer in two ways. It's safer in the fact that you're not getting all those nasty chemicals in your body. And two, there's the chance of burning a building down or a hospital down to the ground because you're using a lighter and a cigarette and you forget to put it out and you fall asleep or something happens to you. I mean, I worked
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're very briefly about the depression stick campaign, which is insinuating a causal relationship between nicotine use and then clinical depression, which I won't get into it. I actually think it's one of the most disgusting, deplorable campaigns in the history of disgusting, deplorable campaigns. But think about what kids, high school kids in particular, junior high, think about what they're dealing with in general.
Mhm.
Do you really find that going out there and shaming them for possibly coping with a mental health issue that they're already coping with, is that something? I never thought I would live long enough to see it, but it is. And yes, they're winning awards for it, so someone's getting rich doing it, but I find it appalling.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, and it's only getting worse as everyone else seems to be speaking out nowadays about how bad vaping is, and it's like we're getting ganged up on here, and it doesn't feel good because it's like the more people that are telling these lies in these positions of power, and health, public health, is supposed to be telling you the truth about this stuff. It makes us have to work even harder because our voice is getting smaller because it's getting kind of overshadowed by this nonstop bullshit campaign.
Well, yeah, and then we're you got Allie from South Carolina, North Carolina, going up against the Harvard professor who's got his PhD. So, and he's a doctor, and who should I listen to? Should I listen to the guy from Harvard or should I listen to Allie? And it's kind of crazy. I mean, for me. I mean, I don't. It's just, where are the professionals that are out there, the doctors that are out there that are doing the testing with nicotine and
I mean, they
using
were
it?
all at the e-cig summit, and the FDA still didn't fucking listen to them.
Yeah. But I mean, it's not. I'm just for them to come out and show what other things they're doing and the benefits of nicotine for all these other illnesses that are helping all these other people, and not put the two together for smokers and people with depression or like I talked about many years ago, they ran that study. I still don't know where it is. I got to look for it, but they were using vaping flavored e-liquids to help people lose weight.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was working for that person in the middle of the night that was craving that fucking cheesecake. And instead of having half a cheesecake that night, you were vaping the cheesecake and having that effect. So it just kind of blows me away. And then, when my dad had the dementia, it was too late into his dementia, but they were talking about how they were using the patch, the nicotine patch.
Yeah, the mind study.
To help with people with early stages of dementia. And it just, to me, it just kind of upsetting that people don't put those two together, that, this is better. This is something that is going to help people, get past smoking cigarettes, or the person with the mental illness that is just going to be a lot safer because he doesn't have a fucking lighter and he's not going to fall asleep on the couch with a cigarette or consume 4,000 nasty fucking chemicals.
Yeah.
Just sad.
I don't think it's anything new that substances like both nicotine and caffeine can be used successfully to manage symptoms of Parkinson's and dementia. It's just been people don't talk about it because it's behind the forbidden veil of smoking, and this is what we're trying to say. Well, it's okay to talk about it now. What it's not okay to do is shame kids who really I mean, how Depression Stick, that campaign, got off the ground is beyond me. But I would think that most health professionals who do not endorse vaping are still shocked by that.
Yeah. And I don't get it. And just like Phil was saying, the doctor study back in the 50s was the one that first liked the situation with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's, that doctors who were smoking were actually less propense to get those illness. And another thing regarding mental health that is quite shocking is that, what at least interesting, is that during a webinar last year, I believe November, they found the National Health Service there in UK, like the thing that they actually said that the people that are caregivers at these clinics that are dealing with people that are living with neurodiversity, they have a higher prevalence of smoking as well. So the NHS in the UK was trying to give vaping devices to the people that actually were caregivers for them because of their prevalence. So,
Yeah, I mean, I worked at Modesto Psychiatric Center for early in my when I was 18, and it was the craziest place I ever worked. But I can tell you, there was an endless supply of coffee. The coffee pot never was empty because we knew what happened in that place. If even the teenagers were drinking the coffee like it was water, and all these parents were coming in and people that were coming to visit, cartons of freaking cigarettes, and that's all they would bring them. They weren't bringing them any gifts or something to make, here's a new toy or stuff. No, they were bringing them cartons of cigarettes, and it's just I mean, I don't have it. I don't understand how it works. I'm not a doctor, but if it keeps them calm, leave them the hell alone, man.
My father was diagnosed with very mild Parkinson's about 3 years ago, and the first thing out of his mouth when I was there when he received the news, and as a retired neurologist, it's I can only imagine what was going through his mind. But to be diagnosed with that which you've been diagnosing yourself your entire life, it's a bit surreal. He repeated something he told me that he heard at a conference, a neurological conference from a very famous neurobiologist who was asked, what would you recommend to those diagnosed with early stage Parkinson's, and he said this when he was off the stage and with a group of them talking after he had given his lecture. He said, well, I'd probably suggest they have a cup of coffee and a cigarette. And he said, I'll take that cup of coffee and that cigarette now. But he's doing very well just the same. Yeah. But no, it's not anything new or any an incredible new finding. These are all things that have the potential to, I guess you could say, slow the progression of these degenerative illnesses. Anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have known, go ahead, Tim.
No, what is stigma can actually do to stop the investigation of these things, right? Because it's pure stigma what is stopping from actually using this kind of substances. Is, for example, with some other drugs that became illegal in the United States, and that stopped the research that was doing on those.
Yeah, I mean, if I would have known early in my dad's diagnosis of dementia, and that the patch would have helped him maybe keep his memory a little longer, I would have put a damn patch on my dad, even though he never had a cigarette in his damn life. I still would have put a patch on my dad just to see how it worked, if it did work, But yeah, it's just weird to me. I mean, like I said, I'm not a doctor. I just find it weird how harm reduction is so much different depending on what it's out to help. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you have a heroin problem, this is what you got, and this is acceptable, and everybody just leaves you alone. We'll give you needles, we'll give you a clean needle, we'll give you, whatever you need to keep yourself off of heroin. And then you go down the list of all the things. Vicodin has something. If you have a Vicodin addiction, they have something for harm reduction to help you there. But here we have something that works. And
all these, even fentanyl in a clinical setting, it's a very, very effective pain medication. And no one who uses drugs deserves to die. If there's a safer way, if that person refuses to stop using, does that person deserve to die? No. If there's a safer way to go about using, absolutely not.
And that's the whole thing too. If you go to mindstudy.org and you click on the little tab that says why nicotine, it says, fact, nicotine does not cause cancer. It's the tar and thousands of other chemicals in cigarettes that make smokers susceptible to cancer, heart disease, and respiratory illness.
Yeah.
Like, this place is allowed to say that. We can't say that. But I mean, and it's crazy to me that they know that. And
what is wrong with the state of California? We do not know.
Right.
Everything.
I'm sorry.
Well, and this place is in California, so that's where they're doing this, where the mind study is being done is in California. So it's crazy to me, like, that they can, that there are people in there that think that and know that is true, and then you have that complete and total ban in California on flavors.
Tim, you got something? I see you playing with your mic.
No. I mean, I was just going to say, obviously, the whole thought process around it when it comes from officials, everything's completely upside down, and that's why every time we talk about it, I know, I mean, there may be some that are on the bandwagon of against harm reduction in the form of vaping, but I got to believe that there's a lot of people that when they turn their shoulder and walk the other way, know exactly what's going on and know exactly what the truth is. Well, they might not know every little thing nuance about vaping, but I think that they do realize that it's a lot safer. But on the subject of harm reduction, I was just going to go back to the original comments that were being made, and that it's kind of the whole idea that people who are suffering from depression and anxiety and any other, mental deficiency that they need medications for are reverting to cigarettes to try to take some of the edge off of all that stuff. It kind of blows the whole argument out of the water about how, nicotine it is a depression stick, that it causes people to be depressed, when in fact the majority of people who gravitate to those types of products, whether it be cigarettes and or vaping, things of that nature, is they're doing it to try to alleviate a lot of those feelings that they're having at the current moment. So it just seems like every time we turn around, everything that they say to scare everybody, you see exact opposite going on.
Yep.
So but it's funny how the herd will continue to follow the propaganda that scares them. It's almost like the general populace at large, unless you're a vapor already or hang out with people that vape or people that are in the space advocacy or have a business or whatever, and they engage in that community, in that industry, the general population at large seems to just embrace fear. Like they just want to be scared and feel like there's a reason for them to have a panic. Like, holy crap, my safe space has now been compromised by this vaping thing. And oh my God, the kids, and we're headed for doom. Yeah. And it's like they would bathe in a bathtub full of fruity fear. Do you know what I mean? Like,
and right. And let's think about this for a second. The depression stick anti-vaping campaign, that was not conceived by researchers or physicians. I would be willing to bet that was conceived by ad agencies and Robin Caval.
No, of course it was. But you know what? It's funded by organizations like the FDA and stuff like that. When we were hearing about the articles where they were getting ready to spend $90 million or $90 billion on this. What was the campaign called? I can't remember the name.
The Real Cost?
The Real Truth campaign. Where they were. Truth. Yeah, where they were just going to flood the airwaves and the social media channels and everything else that's readily sort of consumed by everyone, not just the kids, but it's paid for by the government agencies to hire these marketing agencies to go ahead and do that kind of stuff. So I'm sure they just sit back in their big old fancy leather chair, and as soon as marketing graduate 101 walks into the room and goes, what do you think of this? We're just going to tell them that their heads are going to fall off if they take one hit off the vape.
No hard-ons.
And that's what I mean whenever I say, is a government in a liberal society, should they ever be complicit in shaming? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. That's the government being complicit, whether or not they actually designed it, paid for it, and know step-by-step what it is that they're creating and what their advertising campaign is going to look like. At the end of the day, they are being complicit.
Well, what I would
doing
say,
harm to these people.
What I would say is it'd be kind of great if we could get our hands on some kind of a legislator, maybe a senator, or some preferably up at the highest levels, and say, hey, look, we get that you guys, are generally against vaping as a whole, right? We get that you guys are coming after us, but there should be a law or a bill passed that states that the government can't push propaganda that is not founded or true, much the same as people in the vapor industry can't tell you that vaping is going to reverse the conditions of your smoking for 25 years. Like, we can't issue health statements around vaping, but I don't think that the government should be able to make complete belligerent, false claims to the negative to mislead people to get them away from it. Like, fine, have your fucking ad campaign. You have your ad campaign. Go ahead and say it's not good for you. You know, inhaling anything is not good for
the
you.
government trying to scare kids straight, so to speak.
Yeah.
That I don't know if you guys
It didn't
saw,
work in the 80s. It didn't work in the 80s.
Sure as hell is not going to work in the new millennium.
No, I remember when Washington, the state of Washington, banned vaping, and like a week after it was banned, the governor, what was his name? I can't remember his name, but all of a sudden he banned vaping in heroin. What do they call them? Dens or whatever? I don't know what they were called. Where they go and get their stuff. Tim, you're muted.
Heroin dens is, I think, what they call them.
Is that close? Is it safe to say that? Yeah, he banned. You can go in there and get all the free and do your heroin and do all that stuff in these buildings, but you could not vape in there. And I thought to myself, how fucking stupid can you be that you've made it okay to go get your whatever you're using in a safe, but you're not going to let anybody vape because it's better for them and it's going to save their lives. But you can do all the drugs you want. Come here and get your clean needles and shoot up and do whatever you got to do, but you can't vape in here. And I just thought that was just so stupid.
Unfortunately, we're still fighting a bit of a battle against legal versus illegal drug harm reduction. And well, we still have some ways to go on that.
Hey, but the show is on the show is on Twitter, but
So
you can't comment.
I found this thing from the eSig Summit. I actually just downloaded it from the app that I have from attending it. You can download all of the presentations. And I'm going to see if I can share it, but I'm going to show you how they figure out their demographics and how the FDA is targeting these campaigns, because they're going to do another one.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can do this.
And these ad campaigns, they could throw anything together.
Am I going to become physically ill?
No.
Just give me a warning.
I don't know if you guys saw the ASH UK, Action in Smoking and Health UK position on the consultation made by the UK government about youth vaping. They said not to be worried, let down the hysteria, and actually they said that the majority of kids who actually vape, that is not an alarming number. Yeah. That's what they said. Believe that vaping was more harmful than cigarettes. So the wrong believing that it's being more harmful is not working to gravitate away from e-cigarettes.
And
Hulu,
to your
ESPN.
Yeah, this is how they.
Serious?
Yeah. So apparently, most kids, the majority of this is, targeting these apps, which adults do not use at all.
Never.
Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting when they were sharing this, that this is how they were citing that this is how we figure out that, so the adults don't see this.
I'm missing Nickelodeon. Where's that?
Where's Nick? Where's the Cartoon Network? Oh, there it is. No, CW. That's CW.
No, but there's Adult Swim on there. So
yeah, Adult Swim. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Adult Swim.
Adults.
Yeah.
My brain just fell out. Excuse me.
Hold you. Pick it back up. Pick it back up. Clear. Clear.
My Shudder horror all day, all night channel subscription is through Hulu. Thank you.
Yeah.
So much.
Oh yeah.
I have Hulu Live TV. That's how I watch TV. And
yes, I subscribe to Shudder. I care not who knows it.
We were talking about that a few weeks ago, how every single campaign on Hulu has been vaping for quite some time. I was like, Jesus Christ, man.
Every single time me and my son watch friggin' Supernatural, I'm triggered.
Yeah, actually, that's something I have witnessed, and I was triggered all by myself. At least you had your son to be triggered with.
I'm kind of curious, Paul, because I don't. How crazy are they with ads there? I mean, they can do whatever the fuck they want there. I mean, are they popping up on just regular TV as well?
That's the new campaign that they're working on. The airwaves here, it's quite shocking actually. But there's also radio that they're working on here as well, because radio is still a big part of the working, like the blue collar industry, or industries, I should say, and they all still listen to radio while they're at work. So they're throwing ads there as well as print media advertising. But then we've got, the famous few that are now infiltrated, and this makes me shudder, that there's exhibitions now being put up at science museums with no basis for them being there. Like, these are installations that they're putting in a science museum. You got to be kidding me. That's how bad it's getting. We don't know where to turn anymore. Like, I got on Twitter for half an hour yesterday, and I just went, I'm shutting you down. It's just ridiculous. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Or to take breaks.
Yeah, I laugh. I mean, we all see the pill commercials for whatever pill they're pushing, and it's 10 seconds about the pill, and then the next 20 seconds is about what the pill's going to do to you, your side effects. And I'm thinking to myself,
45 minutes of adverse effects.
Yeah,
right.
have you seen anything on TV and thought to yourself, why the fuck would you take that? Dude,
I'll just use headaches, man. I really don't want to shit my pants. Like, I don't understand what.
No,
not a good compromise.
I'm pretty sure whoever's sitting next to you feels the same. It's just one of those things.
But why is it
go through so much to get rid of toenail fungus for fuck's sake?
Right.
Okay,
your hair's gonna fall out.
Continents. Well, at least that toenail
Anal
fungus
bleeding.
is gone.
Yeah. Why does every single ad that I've heard or I've seen, the side effects, why does every single one must have something to do with your ass for a start?
It does.
Right? No, seriously, I can't find a single ad that doesn't.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm going, either there's something really wrong here, or whoever's, like, someone's got a fascination at the FDA for the ass. Like, it's either one. I don't know which one it is.
Yeah.
But here, luckily, they're not allowed to flog medications. They're not allowed to
if it
do
causes
that.
nausea, vomiting, diarrhea is not too far behind.
It's always diarrhea is always in there. Diarrhea is Paul's right. Diarrhea is
since
always
when
in
does
there.
incontinence only mean having irregular that incontinence? That's not to do with just bladder only. Tell me if I'm wrong, but incontinence, that is essentially seepage. From either side, both sides. It can mean.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the show.
Hi, my name is Phillip Kirschberg. I'm French Canadian.
Welcome to the
Jewish in
Wednesday
Alabama. I am so sorry for all the harm I have caused.
It just kind of blows me away because they're nonstop. I mean, it's just, it's one after the other. And I'm just thinking to myself, why can't we just get that? Why can't they just put up a vape device and say, whatever side effects are going to have, and just leave us the fuck alone? I mean, you got a pill that you're selling.
I was just thinking, who comes up with new friendly names for dysentery every day so they can run those adverse effects of this new drug?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, too, with those
Upset
pills,
stomach,
you
The
see 'em
jingle
push these
guy.
pills, and then a year later you see an ad, and it's like, "Were you harmed by taking this drug? Call this number now."
Yeah. They're ready to sue.
Is it glowing? Call us. 1-800.
It's the three Jacobs,
Like the
Jacob
Empire
and Jacob
jingle.
and Jacobs.
It's like, call Goldberg 100 800 600.
Yeah, we missed our opportunity. We should all been jingle writers. Do they still have jingle writers? I don't know.
No, I'm just saying the ones that are really good at it.
Yeah.
They like the hell with them, right? Because that shit's stuck in my head for the remainder of the day, and you don't know how to release it because it's like some commercial jingle that your friends don't want. You're like, if you sung it in front of your friends, you'd be embarrassed as hell. But like, you're walking around the whole day with that song stuck in your head.
Does anybody remember the Yamaha DX7?
And they got little
keyboard, Dan?
dances and everything,
That was a jingle writing machine. Damn it.
Who didn't have the Oscar Mayer song stuck in their head? The Baloney song.
Still do, brother.
Baloney has a first name.
Yeah.
You answered your own question, kid. If you want to release it, you've got to take the pill. Then you get rid of it out the back door. It's not a problem.
Yeah, I think
That's
that's
your answer.
I think if they can push all that stuff out there and do a 30-second ad and have 10 seconds just about the pill and then the next 25 seconds just about the side effects, why can't we have a vape commercial and I can guarantee you there will be no anal stuff happening with your vape. I can guarantee you
Please,
that.
John, incontinence.
Oh
Definitely
man.
not seepage or
Yeah, you're not gonna get any. Yeah, you're not gonna have
may or
diarrhea.
may
You're
not,
not gonna.
result in venereal cankers, whatever.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Warts. But yeah, it's just ridiculous to me to see those, and it's just like never ending. And like I've always said to myself, every time I see a new one, the first thing that pops in my head right after the commercial's done is, why would anybody fucking take this pill? Why would anybody do this?
Well, I think it just goes to show that everything in this world has pros and cons. Everything has a positive effect and a potential negative effect. And the other reality to this too is that not everyone is affected negatively in the same way or by the same thing. I mean, there's people in this world that can go to the doctor and get a pretty strong antibiotic, and then nothing. They don't like their shit's healed a week later. They're fine. And then there's other people that break out in hives and they get swollen up or have an allergy to it. So all of our biological makeups are in general different. And I think that that's where some of the misnomer comes from with regard to vaping and can e-liquids, cause you to have a negative reaction or no, we're not.
No, we're not. And I think, Tim, you're absolutely right. I think that we should be more willing to accept that there are potential adverse effects, for certain people, vaping, PG, whatever. And we should be more willing to accept those and own those. But for example, I think something that brought what you were saying brought this to me. I think lamotrigine, Lamictal, it's one of the most effective anti-seizure, anti-convulsant drugs out there. And it's for those with, pretty severe seizure disorders. I think half of them can only take a round or two because I think half the people who need it end up having to take something else because they're allergic severely.
Yeah, well, I mean, to finish my point, what I was saying is that a lot of misnomer about e-liquid and vaping gets out there because it's not unusual to think that there's someone who might have an allergy to PG or VG or something like that, and when in fact, for 97% of us, we're just fine, and we have no adverse effects. We're pretty much on the ball with how much we can consume so that we don't get Nick sick and all that other stuff that is our own self-regulation. But there will be a handful of people that just vape e-liquid and it causes them to have an allergic reaction or an adverse reaction. And I think that needs to be looked at objectively and subjectively when you talk about from the medical space, because that person is reacting completely different than what I'm accustomed to. So, I'm doing my own ratios here.
Yeah.
And I'm
can you imagine that commercial that was honest about, the health implications of quitting smoking versus the adverse effects of nicotine or the adverse effects of vaping nicotine? Let's just say that first, 40 minutes would be all smoking and then you'd have 40 seconds on nicotine.
Well, right.
I'm just saying, we're speaking relatively. It's.
Well, back to the UK point, they have a yellow scheme program that if you're vaping and you feel any kind of adverse effect, you report it to them. And they have had, I don't know, like 400 reports of people that feel, for example, allergies or something. But they have said that there is minor stuff. And they have done that for years.
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, the only time that I've ever felt anything adverse to vaping has been like high milligram Nick salt when I'm active. So, like, say for example, I'm out mowing the lawn or I'm doing a lot of yard work, and I carry around a pod with me, so I have something at my disposal, not my disposable, but at my disposal. I have found myself a little short on breath and stuff, and I think it's just because my energy levels are going up, and then and it's a restricted lung draw, so you're like kind of like taking these tight lung draws, and it's almost like kind of like feels like if you've gone from ground zero to like the peak 8 in Breckenridge, Colorado, and you get a little short on breath, so I just switch and go to like 3 or 6 milligram DTL on a pod, and then that tends to cure that. But I mean, I've never had one bad effect from vaping, but it's not unusual to think that others wouldn't or won't.
Yeah, I think we had that issue in the beginning when the disposables came out. I remember a few people in the page on Facebook not realizing the difference in the percentage of salt nicks and had gotten sick, and they're like, "Oh, I'm never using this again." And I'm like, "You understand? That's not 5 milligrams. That's 50 milligrams of nicotine." And
like
there was
headache, fatigue. That's
they were like, "Oh, I
nausea.
couldn't breathe. I couldn't, I was like, got sick to my stomach." I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "You nicked yourself out, is what you did." I said, "That's not 5 milligrams of nicotine. That's 50, almost 60, actually, right? What's Nick salt?
Yeah.
Almost 60. So, yeah, you're sitting there hitting it like it's 3 milligrams. Yeah, you're going to get fucking sick."
Yeah, it's happened to me once, and my body remembered it very well to where it hasn't happened again. But I found I played pickleball extensively for the first time a few weeks back, and between I would say an hour before we started the game till I don't know a good 4-hour period, not only did I not vape, I was not thinking about vaping, and that's just something that I never could have done when I was smoking. That's just something I got to throw in there. Just the involuntary need to stop and have a cigarette. It's not there anymore.
Yeah,
right.
For me, nicotine salts make me anxious. I don't know if it is the same with you, but I think that the throat hit, the lack of it with the nicotine salts, make me anxious.
Anxious, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that that's because you're trying to get a repetitive feeling from vaping, and when it's absent, there's like all of a sudden your body just kind of trips out because like smoking, we always had that throat hit or that consistent draw, or how we developed our draw or whatever. And then when you go to things that don't offer that, and that could be another reason why some people also have a struggle with dual usage and potentially might fall off the vaping bandwagon and go back to cigarettes, because it's been stated several times before in articles over and over and over again, in order for vaping to be successful with any one particular individual, they have to have a relevant experience when they're trying to transition from smoking to vaping.
Yeah.
So if they have less nicotine and it's not enough to keep on par with what they're used to in relationship to the number of cigarettes every day, or the frequency, all the different variables that come into play. And yeah, so I mean, to Jeffrey's point, it is kind of trippy, like when if you're doing
important. Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't been necessarily so predominant in my, like, sometimes I just don't want it. I don't want that particular hit. I just want to be able to take in a massive, draw and blow out a big old cloud, and and just kind of enjoy it from that sort of fun perspective. But yeah, because I mean, smoking was all about, most of it was nervous habit too. Busy hands, and I got to be doing something.
Fair point.
Going back to that article that we were just talking about, I was just wondering, like the physicians that are taking care of these people, or did they contribute to this article at all? Because they're the ones at first hands that are going to notice how much more calmer that patient is, and how much easier it is to handle that patient. I wonder if they are speaking out as to why it is kind of important for them to have, the nicotine and the coffee and whatever else that they're getting to. I mean, is there any articles out there? Because there should be.
Any, but
some of the medical fraternity are actually being silenced.
Mm-hmm.
They're not allowed to speak out on some of the benefits. They're being threatened, especially here in Australia. There was 2 physicians that were actually struck off the list for actually speaking out about it. And you have the AMA, the Australian Medical Association, and you also have the RACGP, which is Royal Australian College of General Practitioners, both speaking out about the benefits of vaping. And we're going, but why? Why are you trying to deny what the truth is? Oh, but this is what we're being told. This is what the drug companies are telling us. This is what our sponsors are telling us. So in other words, you're all in bed together. It's like your little cabal that you can only say this or this or this.
Yeah.
Why not tell the truth?
I mean, that person's in there 'cause-
unfortunately, even nicotine patches in this country, they're not indicated for things like Tourette's, which I understand they can be effective in helping to treat. There's just simply not. Let's just say whomever Pfizer is not. It costs quite a bit of money to have your. I think that has to do with it not only having the same drug indicated for a different condition costs money, because I believe it does add a certain amount of time to your registered trademark on that product, whatever. Anyway, let's just say no one is running to stamp a FDA seal of approval on, yes, we can use these nicotine patches to treat this extra symptom. It's still nicotine, and the stigma is
but you have major universities that are doing these studies with nicotine, and these are not this is not Humboldt County junior college. This is Stanford, this is Harvard. These are big medical school that are doing these studies, and it just seems like the FDA doesn't even give a shit about. Hit my other mic. Get over there.
No.
And the majority of them.
Summit. Abigail Friedman from Yale was at the E6 Summit, and she did an amazing presentation. And also some suggestions at the end of her presentation on what she thinks should be done. Because she's like, we see that this is not as harmful, and we also see that all these states that have banned the smoking rates are up in adults and youth. So why can't we have smart decision making here and some other alternative than just ban something? But everybody wants to just ban everything they don't like nowadays. They just want to ban it.
Yeah, ban it. Can we ban your children for buying? No, I'm just kidding.
Can we ban you?
Can we ban you? Somehow we should have the official, you have been banned from social media. They should have pass a law where you can ban someone from social media.
Somebody said to me the other night, I hate bars and they should be banned. And I was like, what? This is the kind of mentality that is destroying this.
That's when I tell her, have you ever tasted
a really
good? I would have told
everybody else, just ban them.
I would have told them, have you really tasted a really good whiskey? Oh yeah, no, no. I mean, we are at that stage, I think, where everybody's just, hey, I don't know if it's to blame social media, if it's not, because 30 years ago you were pretty much secluded in your little circle of people in your community, in your town. If you wanted to find out what was going on in the UK or anywhere else, you had to stay up and wait for the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock news or get the newspaper. Now everything is just right there at our fingertips. Information is just flying in from everywhere. And now everybody has an opinion, and it seems like the wrong people are getting to be heard, and that just kind of frustrating. And then like we talked about, our hands are tied. Well, not us. We're not owners of shops or e-liquid manufacturers, but we can speak up. But the people that should be speaking up and should be able to speak up and help the customer in the shop, explain to them how the device works, explain to them why they need 18 milligrams and not 3 milligrams, and why they need this device and why this is important that you start off mouth to lung. But when you can't do that, you're just setting up the customer for failure, and it just sucks. It sucks, man.
Yeah,
we've got to that point now here where advertising on social media is starting to become an issue, and people are now being put into the advertising boards, and their photos are now being taken down from Instagram. They're also doing it here on Facebook, and now they're asking the Australian government's asking Twitter now to start taking down photos related to vaping products, and we can't see them, or geo-blocking effectively here in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, you guys, you guys have got so much money to waste. Why can't you waste it on something a little bit better? I don't
I
understand
actually
that.
think you bring up a pretty good point right there. A lot of money to waste and, in need of a cause. That's a really, really dangerous combination.
Exactly. And okay, putting up cigarette taxes here in Australia and banning recreational vaping, they're two very, very silly things. We've already seen the problems with raising the taxes here to the highest in the world. We're watching the black market flourish. And when I say flourish, I mean absolutely go hammer and tong here in Australia. And I agree, Mallory.
Yeah.
The homeless situation here in Australia now over the past 12 months has become so horrendous.
Come to California, it's just as bad.
Okay, but
Yeah,
you've
the
got
peak of,
how many do you have in California? How many live in California now? How many million?
San Francisco was going through the worst of its homeless
San Francisco,
crisis, and they
San
banned
Diego.
vapes straight out. I mean, it's
San Diego. I mean, it's the
diversionary
numbers-
tactic. Who
yeah.
knows?
Yeah, I can tell you, but yeah, it's bad everywhere. It doesn't matter what country you're in. When you're dumping billions of dollars into stopping a product that's going to help people and not focusing on something that people really need: food, homes, fucking affordable jobs, anything. Yeah.
In the meantime, you could be regulating them appropriately and dealing with the other situation that has absolutely nothing to do with situation A.
No, I agree, but I'll say this time and time again, please don't look to Australia for regulatory, framework. We're doing the wrong thing at every turn. It's completely ridiculous.
Actually, it's hard to believe that there's a person on the planet that doesn't know that at this point.
In 2022, Los Angeles had the nation's largest homeless population, about 582,000. That's
what?
Crazy.
What year was that, John?
I'm not there. I'm 6.5 hours from there. 582,000 Americans are expected homeless, according to 2022 Department of Housing and Urban Development. But LA is the nation's largest homeless population. As the largest.
Holy shit.
Wasn't it then maybe San Francisco surpassed that per capita right around?
I don't know. It's crazy. They have a street. There's 4 major intersections that go into downtown Los Angeles, and that happens to be where all the homeless are. At 7:30 every morning, LAPD comes down the street in vans and makes them pack up all their stuff and move away from those 2 entrances into the city, because people that work there don't want to see the homeless while they're driving into work. They don't want people seeing them, and they don't want to see it as they drive into LA, into the business district in LA. So every morning, hundreds of police officers are banging on fucking tents to get people up, packed up, and moved along to the homeless shelter, which is, wherever it is. But yeah, it's horrible in LA.
It's hard not to weep.
Yeah, it's hard. It's bad. How did we get to the homeless? Homeless need vapes too, damn it. Go ahead, Tim. Unmute yourself. You have such a beautiful voice if we could hear it.
I mean, to spin off your joke, I mean, everyone should have access to vaping, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the homeless, they can't afford that stuff. And what's going to happen to them is, even if they want that kind of stuff, they're going to be left with one path, and that's whatever they can get off the street.
Yeah.
So not only are they homeless, not only do they need help, not only do they need housing and food and everything else, but they got to feed their addictions as well. And if they have some conscience and want to vape, they're going to be getting the trash. I can't walk in the vape shop and buy that, $25, $30 bottle of e-liquid. And I highly doubt you're going to find a homeless person begging for change to go buy e-liquid too.
Wow, hold on here. 30% of all people in the United States expecting homeless resident. Oh, God damn it. I got to blow this up. And California includes half of all the unsheltered people. 115,491 homeless people in California, 233,000 in the U.S. That's crazy.
That is
Allie,
crazy.
how are they going to protect the borders? How are they going to stop the good stuff from getting in?
This stuff pisses me off so much. So
They're gonna stop the regulated.
No, the good stuff's
the
getting
good stuff.
it's
Yeah,
stopped.
yeah.
The good stuff's
Okay,
going to not make it here.
So
Okay,
yeah,
just making
Elfbar,
sure.
Escobar, all this stuff, and I, obviously this happened in May, so it's not new news, but
Yeah.
the new news is that the FDA is now looking for shops, retailers that are carrying these items. And so, like I was saying earlier, how people in California are afraid to advertise that you can still ship your stuff. Well, they're looking at retailers' websites to find who's carrying these products, and that's how they're targeting.
Reynolds.
That's how they're targeting, to come in and do a surprise visit into your shops and into your, manufacturing facilities, is by looking at your website and seeing what kind of stuff you carry.
Yeah.
So it's very scary because, we don't ship anything anymore, but, we also still want to have an availability for our consumers to see what is available if they do come and see us. And then on the other hand, we want to take everything off the website because we don't want to, trigger a visit, and it's really unfortunate because it's, you see, like, yes, Janine, Five Ponds, you see all
that's
these
sad.
places that, are shutting down and a class
sad.
act all the way. Five Ponds always did things the right way. And when you see something like that, it's just kind of like reaffirms like how bad it's getting and how much worse it's going to get.
Yeah. Well, it's going to seem a little strange if it gets to the point where we're turning on the 7 o'clock news and you've got customs border agents standing at a cardboard table with like a slew of what would be otherwise legal vapes on a table, kind of flaunting their big, bust that they stopped coming in across the border.
As all the black market ones slide right on by.
It's in the mail. Trust me.
I mean, and let's be realistic, right? I mean, the border customs agents that are down there now are pretty much focused on dealing with people coming over.
Yeah.
But where it goes unseen probably is at the ports and stuff like that. Where containers are coming in off of the ships from China and stuff. And to be quite honest with you, just due to the sheer volume of containers that come in off of boats on a daily. I mean, the last company I worked for, we got a container pretty much every month from China. And when you start, and if you've gone out on YouTube and you've looked up any of these videos on these shipyards, I mean, it'll blow your mind how high these friggin' containers are stacked and how deep they are. And these cranes that they drive are lifting 4 and 6 of these things at a time to load them on these, ironically, which is kind of crazy. It's if you're a nerd, and it's kind of cool, but they've got like these fully robotic automated trailer cars that are robotic, that are programmed to know where to pull up, and then the guy puts the container on the robotic trailer thing, and then the robotic trailer drives off and takes it to the yard wherever it's supposed to go. So that part was all kind of interesting to me, but my point was more about just the volume of containers coming in off of ships. I have no idea how Customs and Border Protection can even scan or look at all of those containers reasonably, right? I mean, they can hold them for however long they want to, if they want to pull it to the side and open it up. And I mean, God forbid they dig everything out of the friggin' container. I mean, if you've ever unloaded a container with your boys, it's not fun. I mean, when they're nose to tail and roof to, floorboard to ceiling, box by box, they're not coming off in pallets.
I'm going to go ahead and thank the Almighty for that big no on that one.
Yeah, everything's coming off one box at a time. I can go back to when I worked with one of my first companies, when we were doing commodity builds on PCs and stuff, and we did custom BTO builds, and like we would get containers full of mid-tower cases from China. I mean, there had to have been 3,000 of these things in a container, box by box, and you had to take them off. We had basically a chain of guys, and we were just handing them down. But I have no idea how they would regulate it in the first place.
But you have Rosie Jetson, like, coming on, on the fly, coming to pick up whatever it is you've taken out.
I mean, and they're metal, all right? They're metal
Yeah.
containers. So, I mean, you can't exactly permeate them and see through them very easily.
Can a dog sniff?
I'm sure the dog could probably, well, no. I mean,
sniffing dog.
dogs can smell things. Their sense of smell is 10 times stronger than ours is.
Mango. I smell mango pods. I can see
so
the
like,
dog training the dog to find mango pods.
Is that blow or banana? We simply do not know.
I'm sure it's an 80-20 rule, right? Like 80% of bad shit probably makes its way in, and then there's about 20% of it that they actually correctly flag.
Tim, see if you can train your wiener dogs to smell e-liquid.
Bro, this
this
one can't even get out of her bed to bark.
Are they seizing shipments that were actually on the docket of these are shipments that were declared as
on the manifest as of
right, because if you're doing something the right way, then and obviously these companies are registered because they are doing things the right way. Then I would assume
so they're taking and seizing. It's an embargo against those companies that are doing things the right way, declaring what shipments are coming in. They're going to go ahead and seize those because, damn,
it's a win-win for them. And Well, you think this is the push, though? This is coming. It just seems it's funny that it did come out in May, but it was prior to a lot of the groups out there like PAVE and a few other ones bashing the FDA for not doing anything about the disposables.
Even RJ Reynolds.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, this happens, and it's just like they were already on them and saying, you're not doing enough. You're not doing nothing. You're not stopping it. These things are still out there. And then all of a sudden this happens. And
it just seems like they're like kind of like orchestrating what the FDA is doing because they're pressuring them and they're at them so much that they're just like, fine, we'll just do this. Leave us alone for 3 days and then we'll do something else.
Go home and drink your white wine and leave us the hell alone.
Well, look at Australia and what they're trying to achieve here with our border. We're an island, okay? How many different ways can you get a product in? And the postage service here isn't flagging 99% of what's coming through. How the hell are they going to try and stop an even bigger flood of product coming through? And when they move to hardware, that's going to be even more interesting. I had a very good conversation with Bogan the other day about the hardware when he got back from Germany. And he said, how the hell are they going to stop it? Maybe like they put a device in one package, they put your tank or whatever into another package, and then it's like an assembly kit. And I said, but that's where we're at now. I said, how the hell are they going to stop it? Because it comes through as electronic item.
It comes out as an electronic device. Exactly. I've read lots of manifests. I've drove truck for a long time, and it's just, it doesn't say toaster. It just says electronic. That's it.
Well, it's right, really interesting. Right. It's really interesting. How the hell are they going to do this?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. My nephew, about 15 years ago, worked with the Coast Guard. He was part of the Coast Guard on the California coast. So they would go from Washington back down to the Mexico border and back and forth, up and down. The drug dealers would buy little 10-foot aluminum boats, and they would just pile no people in them. They would just fill these boats up with marijuana, barrels and barrels of it, and they would just send out 100 of them. And the way the water, it would just
the currents.
Yeah, the current. And they had little GPS devices on them for the drug dealer on the other end. And these little boats were they would float into shore, and these guys would go and pick it up, and they didn't care if the Coast Guard got 15 of them. But because they got 30 of them across. So I could see that's what maybe I could see China just sending all these little boats over to Australia full device.
Well, that's okay. That's the key, Mallory, and that's what I'm trying to say. Our coastline is vast here. All right. And the really interesting part was that even our border security said there's going to be no way, shape, or form, and you didn't even budget, and then magically the other day, another $1 billion is going to be put into border security for stopping vapes at the border. And we just went, what the hell are you talking about?
There goes your Meals on Wheels program.
Yeah. Well, that's what makes me laugh with this thing here. It's just like, we've heard the same argument from the FDA, about wanting to do this and stop this and shut this shop, but yet nothing ever happens. It gets done, but they always complain that they don't have the enforcement. They don't have enforcement. No one's enforcing these for them, and then they go get, who do they get? The DEA, right? Or the DOT, right? Who do they ask now as part of them? They're supposed to be enforcing some of their regulations.
The DOJ.
Is it the DOJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that department is not going to go out and take care of that nonsense. They're not going to spend any time doing that. They're not going to go from shop to shop asking if you got mango on the shelf. I mean, it just seems like
right. The bill that just died in Alabama in the Senate was actually allocating funds for the ABC board, the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board here in Alabama, giving them lots of money to do we don't exactly know what.
Yeah.
They have the PMTA registry, and we can only assume.
Not that I want the FDA to start acting on this shit, but I mean, it makes me laugh that they just seem to keep adding more departments and more people, but yet there's no money and still nobody is doing anything, and which is fine with me. Don't you take your sweet ass fucking time. I don't care how long it takes you guys, but it's just weird that it just seems like now vaping has become a cash cow for the government. I mean, it just seems like and the FDA itself create a new department, create a new director, create more people, get this department involved. Let's get more money for these people. And it just seems like, it's insane. It's insane. You're saying billions. I could just imagine how much is being spent here in the US every year to try to stop vaping. And like Phil said, I mean, that fucking money could be used for so many other things, man. So many other things,
I remember when they did like the shipping thing, and we had like I think it was like a SAFADA webinar with the ATF, and the guy was there kind of trying to explain, and he was like, I really don't know why we're being tasked with it. We don't want to be like, they don't want to know part of this. Like, they're like, what?
Yeah, if you're so concerned with the safety of the general public with banned
same
shit.
vibe from the ABC board here.
Yeah,
and the Reynolds lobbyist in the back, who's like 1,000 years old, just chuckling like Satan himself. The point is, I think that in Alabama we dodged this bullet, but it will likely come back, since the American Cancer Society, Heart and Lung, were all against this particular bill. So I'm sure we'll see something new, fresh, and horrible come February. But for the time being, I'll take this one. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Kassan. And thank you, everyone who got involved.
It seems to me that all of these politicians, both in the United States, Australia, and around the world, they're all just creating new jobs for their friends.
Yep.
That's all. That's all it is. And we just want a new 3-letter agency. What are we going to call this one?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I can't get over what's constantly on my mind is these ad campaigns, these ridiculous ad campaigns that make ridiculous claims about the non-existent harms of nicotine vaping. Kids laugh at that. Kids, teenage kids these days, they know better. They actually understand they're being lied to. It's the people that are most in need of these products that are scared to death by these campaigns. They're the ones who see that. They're the ones who believe the BS. And it's those people who are in their 50s and 60s who smoke cigarettes who are like, it's just as bad as smoking. It's unbelievable. And I mean, there's more than a few studies who've checked out what audiences are most impacted. Well, adults who smoke are the ones you're deceiving. Thank you very much. And that's something that just...
I feel like you didn't see the triangle, and you didn't see that these campaigns are not being targeted at
right, exactly.
No, it like this border thing. I mean, if you're going to spend billions of dollars, you would think, and you're so concerned with the safety of the general public, you should be more concerned with trying to stop the bullshit stuff from coming in, and leave the people that are actually following the rules, stating what product is coming into our country, and making sure that product gets to the shelves, and not the bullshit garbage that, nobody knows what's in it. What are they using? God forbid. I don't want to joke about this, but who's to stop somebody from using nickel wire, in a device, and hurting someone because they ran out of stainless steel wire? You know what I mean? That's a possibility. That could happen, or use a different type of wire just to get away with it. And that may not be as safe for us as a consumer,
Just
And-
the government's suddenly punishing those companies that are actually doing business, or rather, bringing stuff into this country by the letter of the law, doing it
Right.
correctly, and then punishing them for it. Well, what does that say to everyone who's doing it under the radar? It's just a preposterous idea, and the fact that they don't understand the consequences, rather the unintended consequences that are just staring them right back in the face, is no. I don't know how that's possible, and I care not to think more about it.
Well, it's going to get to the point. I mean, it's eventually companies that are trying to do it legit may go the wrong way just to get their shit in here as well, or just say, what, fuck US. You know what? We'll focus on the UK, we'll focus on Italy and Europe, and make sure they get our product, and whatever garbage ends up on the shores of the US, and that's on them, But I've learned a long time ago. I mean, Paul knows too, because if you've been vaping a long time and used RDAs, you realize that the RDA that was being made in that shop there, or that factory in China, the clone shop was right next door, so that makes me laugh. But that's like with this Elf bar and all this other stuff. I'm thinking to them, it's like, yeah, okay, you guys make the real one, and then we'll go over here next door and you give us whatever crap you have left, and we'll make the fake ones. I mean, some of the companies, Paul, that were making the clone RDAs ended up being big major players, eventually started making their own things, and got into the industry that way, but
Some of those Chinese clones became sought after.
Well, yeah,
Well,
there was a couple companies that actually
Well-
stopped copying.
No, well, still one of the biggest companies they're doing clones or lookalikes is SXK, and they're still going. And I'll just say this: they've made enough money now to retool their whole workshop that what they're putting out is absolutely next level. If Addy Tooney's still around, he will tell you that the K funds that they used to create.
There's some good clones out there.
Man, no, these were 1-to-1.
Yeah, 1-to-ones.
Okay. But the difference was that you could go and buy real K fund parts and switch them out, and they fitted perfectly.
Yeah.
So the tolerances were there. That was then. Now you look at the Boro market, okay, and I was sent something to look
the
at,
Boro
and
markets.
I said, this cannot be legitimate. There's no way, shape, or form this could be a legitimate item. And the packaging and everything looks like the manufacturer. I'm not going to say what the Boro is that was sent to me, like the RBA. Yeah, that's one of them. Watofo was
one.
Yeah,
they were the clone kings for a while.
back in the early days, they were. But
I was thinking
this
the
RBA,
CLT, RDA, and CLT maybe the Infinite something. Anyway, it was Chinese. It was really nice though.
But this is mind blowing. The machining on this is as good as what I've seen coming out of the high end machine shops in Europe and Switzerland and Italy and Germany, for that matter.
Paul, what was the RDA that started the one that they only made 100,000 of them, and it was the one that finally had the up and down the vertical coils?
Oh, the Velocity.
Was it the
original?
velocity? Remember? Yeah,
it was
that was the joke.
original velocity.
They
gate.
only made 100,000. There's only 100,000 authentic velocity coils or RDAs out there, but yet
Yes,
everybody had one. There was like 2 million.
It's 2.5 million authentic.
Yeah, everybody had one. They're like, yeah, I go.
I was about
Yeah.
to say, Vulcan Vape had them a million years ago for like $100 a pop. That doesn't exactly sound like 200.
No, but
There were 200 made in this batch.
There wasn't even 100,000. Paul, was it 10,000? It was only like 10,000. It was a really low number.
Wasn't it kind of crap too?
No, it wasn't. The original velocity deck.
Yeah,
And the other one that got cloned heavily was Kennedy.
Kennedy.
But their machining is top notch.
Personally, I wasn't a fan.
That was all machining.
Yeah,
but that was all machined in California, and they were breakthrough in what they did in post design. And then you had another company called 528 Customs, the original goons.
Give them that bone. Give them the bone.
The goon was mind blowing. Right. When that was released, there was a lot of them.
Yeah, it's fine. We've all been involved in other things that that people have gotten to the point where it's like, I gotta have this, whatever product it was. But I finally got that feeling like in vaping when everything started to evolve. And I know Tim probably remembers it too. It's just like this RDA would come out. I didn't need that fucking RDA, but I just had to have that RDA, and it was just the cycle of popularity in this industry and having a certain person's name backed a product up. And I just never noticed that with any other product that I've ever bought in my life, how it just evolved so quickly. And then when they introduced colors, oh my fucking God, it was like every vapor had an orgasm. It was like, oh my God, I can get purple, I can get blue, I can get green. I just never saw that with any other product. Do you guys?
I'm getting old. I really get excited with this on-off switch. Look at that. You can turn it off and it says "See you again, bye-bye."
Well, you weren't one of those guys.
Look at that. I'm so excited, for fuck's sake. Look at this.
I know the guy next to me
I had to go out and
like
buy
me.
one because I had an on-off switch.
Yeah, I know the guy next to me was like me. I mean, if it came out and it was a color that I wanted, I was like, boom. Yeah, I had 3 of them on my desk, but I could get a green one now. Yeah. Fuck, get green.
Yeah, but if you really put all that into context, I mean, that was just another component of vaping that kept people there. Yep. Right. Because, you were like, if everything was so one dimensional and looked the same, it was like, it's getting kind of boring. Maybe I'm not into this as much. But then like blue would come out and you'd be like, hell yeah, I'm vaping for another year and a half on this little blue RDA right here, and then so it really was sort of a marketing tool that was beneficial in a lot of ways.
You're right. There are 2 things I noticed that really sparked this industry. And in the beginning, it was the sub-ohm tank. That changed everything for everyone. I mean, that introduced a whole different vapor to the whole game. And then that first company, and I can't remember who it was, but like I said, I could get a blue fucking RDA. It doesn't have to be chrome or black. I can get my mod could be this color. What the fuck? I'm gonna.
It's like a whole nother level.
Were you there, Allie? Did you buy something because it was pink?
Oh my God, are you kidding me? Not only did I buy stuff because of the color, but I would go out and buy that like fancy duct tape, and I would duct tape my own
skins
batteries. I'm like, I had like a turquoise leopard one. Like, I mean, I had the crazy ass looking drip tips. Like, I mean, like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna wear this color today, so I'm gonna bring my blue vape. Like,
I totally forgot about the drip tip craze.
To your bag, okay? That's all I have to say about it. I believe that you should have that right. Goddamn.
I forgot all about the drip tip phase. That drip tip phase was crazy in the vaping. It's like, oh wow, look at all these drip tips.
And I was like, oh, the Audrey Hepburn, the super long one, like that she used to keep her cigarette in. I'm like vaping like 6 feet away from my face.
I tried. At the end of the day, I was just kind of like, if the draw is right, this is what I'm going to use.
Right. It always ended up being like one of the little small acrylic ones that I liked the most.
Yeah. It was to me. I don't remember any other product that I've ever been involved in that had that much drive to it when something came out. You know, it's not like you didn't buy a home receiver and then next year you could get it in silver or it was version. You didn't care, but it was just like all of a sudden it was just like I had blue, fucking
Actually,
red,
NAD did
anodized.
that to me with one of their like compact disc / like receiver amplifier units, and I was like, God damn it! I got the chrome one, and now they have like like matte, like they have a new color.
That or you bought? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it went with my shorts that particular day.
The only thing I can think of is toys. Toys were that way. It was just you like, oh, I gotta get that toy.
Are you suggesting that we like playing with toys, John?
We're adults. Yes. It doesn't matter how old we get. We still love toys. The other day, it may have been a while, but I sat on the fucking sidewalk. It took me a while to get up, but I sat on the sidewalk and colored with my granddaughter. And to me, it was just like I was 5 years old again. You know, sitting there coloring on the sidewalk. So
was that her in that picture that you put on?
Yeah, that's my granddaughter.
That's a great shot.
Yeah. So and then Hope, my daughter's like, she's going to get a good job when she gets older. She's not going to work a 9-to-5 job she hates. I was like, I'm just kidding.
So I have a question for all the people that have vape budget hands. Like, did you go through the same maniacal self-loathing when you'd go out and you'd buy like, I want no particular name in general, like, the bubble RDA, and then like you just drop like $70 on the thing because you think it's the latest and the greatest, and then a week later the V2 drops, and you're like, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. that shit is so not fair. That like I want that one too.
I'm booking myself into Vapors Anonymous now. I might have.
Remember when you got that Aromomizer 1.5 and you thought that was the end all of things, and then you saw
the
like
end of the internet now.
And then you got the Supreme, and then you're like, well, nothing fits on this.
We used to joke about how many pages could you open that you still had stuff in the cart. That was like the fucking big thing.
I don't understand the question, and I refuse to respond.
Yeah, I would get Google message me. You still have this in the cart? You're gonna buy this?
Oh, don't start with that one. No, please don't.
It was it was a fun time, and then when things got to the point where there was that scare in the beginning where the hardware issue, and I thought for sure that was going to be the end of that phase of it, and we were going back to silver and black. So everything was going to be chrome or black. And, I learned really quick that it did affect the vape shops because a lot of the local vape shops wouldn't carry any more RDAs anymore or wire. But that didn't stop the websites. I mean, you can go in there and pick whatever, who was it that started it, Tim? The rabbit, Dead Rabbit. That's the one that started the color face. That was the one that everyone had. It didn't matter. They had one Dead Rabbit. Nope. They had to have 15 of them.
I would have bought like 2, 3, and 4 of them right out of the gate.
What was that, Paul? Phillip?
I thought it was the Kylan, maybe.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, the Dead Rabbit kind of started. There was colors out there, but it wasn't. People weren't kind of moving towards that direction. Everyone was still like, "Hey, my mod is black. I need a black RDA," or "My mod is chrome." But when Dead Rabbit came out, that was one of these RDAs that just kind of introduced a lot of people, took a lot of people away from mouth to lung, and brought them into the RDA and sub-ohm tanks. Took them away from that, brought them back to building, and that's still, I think, it's still the highest selling, right? Highest selling RDA ever, right? I think so.
That one, the drop was pretty.
The drop was big too. The drop was big too.
The drop V1 was possibly the most innovative for its time, and then the drop solo.
They were speaking my language because they were like, "Hey, this is super easy. Check it out." I'm like, "All right,
Brian, that was amazing work from Brian.
Herb, really good guy."
Yeah. But then he delved into mods, and I saw something the other day that I don't think was ever released. When they released the carbon in the Squonk mod, they had an SX a Yeehee chip in it, but apparently there was a prototype version that was going to be released to the public that had a DNA version in it. That never got to market.
I saw the SX 450 version. I didn't see the.
Yeah, well, it was the top side.
All right, guys. I just noticed we're over. I looked up and I saw 204. Oh shit! Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey had to take off, guys. Thank you for coming in, Jeffrey, and thank you, Philip, Tim, Allie, and Mr. Ozzy. Hold on, I got something for you before we sign off. I got something new for you. Here you go. Look, he already put his hand to his face. Dun, dun, dun. I got a new picture. He's all decked out.
The mole isn't quite as pronounced on that one. I mean, I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
Okay.
We're gonna have, just for you, Philip, we're gonna have t-shirts.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
I'm wearing that guy's mug on my face.
Oh no! Philip has to wear it. We're going to send him a t-shirt.
I don't want to wear a t-shirt with the king.
You just said he looks good. You're getting a t-shirt.
I said he looks better because that great big son of a bitch that some rat should gnaw off in the Bowery is not quite as apparent.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was the words that I should have said.
Yeah, it's all right.
Work.
We will be back next week. Allie, do we have a guest next week? We do. Don't we?
No, not that I'm aware of yet.
We'll find somebody. We'll find somebody. Thanks again, everybody in chat. We will see everybody next week. Thank you, guys. And we are out of here. Peace
Cheers,
out.
everyone. Thank you.
Bye.